Welcome to GlideChat, where we give you the rundown of all things ServiceNow. Let's talk about the now, right now.
Welcome to another episode of GlideChat. My name is Mike Lombardo. I'm with Ryan Smith, the ServiceNow Global Alliance Director at OWN, formerly known as OWN Backup. It's just shorten it up to OWN, right?
Right. Own your own life.
Own your own. Own your data, baby.
Own data.
Ryan, how long have we known each other now?
You know what? Good question. I would guess 10 years.
Close. Yeah. Because it was at a core, like before I even started GlideFast, right?
Oh yeah. I remember having your business card, Mike Lombardo, Choreo business card.
Yeah, that's crazy. That was the partner I was at before GlideFast. And I still had, thank God I got wherever that screenshot came from, where I had like the first 3 followers of GlideFast on LinkedIn, and you're one of them. That's like proof. Like you have proof for life that you were supporting us when we were like nothing. So, you know, I just want to take this time to, like, first of all, thank you for being like, you know, a colleague, a partner, all that. But like, we've really grown into, I hope you feel the same way. I know you do, friends. And you just like been a really great friend, and we've been rooting for each other, and, you know, we've watched each other grow, and I'm so happy for where you're at. I'm so happy for where I am and GlideFast is at. And it's exciting times. It really is. Yeah.
No, man, I call you Brother Mike, man, because you're like a brother to me. I love you, man. For real.
I love you too. It's crazy. I mean, yeah. So I want to hear a little bit about your journey. You've gone from, you know, a couple different companies over the years in the ServiceNow space. You know, I think you were at a company that was like leaning into the ServiceNow space, and you just always have been this like ambassador, like in every position you've had in all these different companies. You've always just kind of like been an ambassador, you know, like, I don't want to use the word alliance, but like, you've always just kind of been this middleman almost of like, you know, connecting the people with the companies. But yeah, talk to me a little bit about your journey.
So, I mean, let's see, I guess to date myself. So I'm 50 years old, right? So I've been making relationships all my life for 5 decades now. And I've, you know, when you're this old, you have chapters in your life, right? So, I mean, I went through a period after college where I was kind of entrepreneur like you. Actually was nominated for Ernst & Young entrepreneur for a company I started in college. That was a travel company, right?
That's wild.
We used to travel. It kind of started out when I was in high school. I was, you know, the ASB president of my school, and I organized my senior class trip, right, to Mexico.
Yeah.
And I kind of turned that into a business. Like I did it for my class, but then my buddy was the class president at the sister school, so I helped him. And next thing you know, we had like our whole county go on this trip to Mexico for our grad trip. Wow. And the next year I went to college, and when I was in college, I was in this entrepreneurship program, and they're like, hey, you got to start a business and write a business plan. So I wrote a business plan to do that, started this company called International Student Tours. We became like the biggest student travel company on the West Coast, and traveled like 5,000-10,000 students, like to all over the place, you know, Hawaii and graduation trips. And then we broke into senior spring break trips, and we started doing, you know, winter ski trips and yada, yada. And when that kind of ran its course, I ended up getting into music and became like a professional keyboard player, right? And like toured around the world and played keyboards for like everyone from like, I was in, you know, working with bands like, you know, Willie Nelson, Buddy Guy. I was Thomas Rhett's first keyboard player.
That's wild.
So I left Seattle, flew to Nashville, auditioned for Thomas Rhett, the country singer. Now I've been in Nashville for 10 years. I became his first keyboard player. So while I was kind of doing that, I got a call from my buddy from high school who was a musician. My brother's best buddy, and he was like, hey, what are you doing? You're not touring. I was like, look for work, you know, I mean, teach lessons. I don't know. He's like, hey, there's this conference knowledge coming up. Would you come to the booth and just kind of help me? And, you know, and I said, yeah. So I flew to Vegas and went to knowledge like in, I don't know, 2014 or 15 maybe. And so here we are. It's going to be I think my 10th knowledge coming up here next week.
Wow.
But when I was working with him, I started thinking, oh, this is a cool community and a cool technology, and started kind of getting more on the alliance, like you said, relationship side of everything. I'm not a technical guy. I'm a musician, you know.
Yeah.
I love people. I love technology, but I'm not technical, right?
Yeah. Not a developer. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And have a ton of respect for those guys. And our CEO, Tom Watson, he was at a company. It's called AMI, Asset Management.
AMI. Yep.
And their tech was they're a technology partner called Asset Track. And so it's kind of like hardware asset management. This is before HamPro came out, barcode RFID, tracking all your hardware inside of ServiceNow. And at the time, all of his customers, he had big customers like United Airlines, Kaiser Permanente, but they're all on HP and all these legacy, you know, systems. And so the first thing was like, let's get all this customer base and move these guys over to ServiceNow, which was great for everybody, right?
Yep.
So I kind of worked off and on for him and playing music for like 7 years, right?
Wow.
And that, and then my brother was like, hey, I'm involved in this new startup. I'm the COO. You should come over and help and be our CRO. And it was basically a data protection company that did like application security testing inside of Salesforce, right?
That's right.
So I went over to the Salesforce ecosystem for a short stint working with Digisect. And right away I realized like, hey, a big part of that partner would be partnering with someone like Own Backup, who at the time was a startup as well.
Wow.
But, a lot of those best practices is always thinking, hey, you want to develop your code, you want to test your code to make sure there's no vulnerability so hackers can't come in and penetrate the cloud and steal all your data. But you want to back up that stuff first, right?
Yeah.
And then go into your DevSecOps process.
Yep.
And once it's all cleaned up, then you want to back up that clean org.
Yep.
You're not doing garbage in, garbage out. So we partnered with Own, and I met with a guy named Matt Kennedy at Own Backup, and I kind of watched Own. So we got our first customer, CrowdStrike, right, which is a big win for us, and they signed this big.
That was Own or
Digisect.
Oh, Digisect. Yeah. Okay.
So we landed our first customer, CrowdStrike. And the first thing they asked us when they bought our technology was, you guys do this for ServiceNow as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's when it was kind of like, oh, wow, not just Salesforce needs this tech. ServiceNow needs to, clean their code and do application security testing as well. And so that kind of stuck in the back of my head.
There it is.
Yeah. We partnered with Own, and I watched Own go from, one customer to 10 to 1,000 to 4,000 to 7,000. I just watched this company just go crazy. It was an absolute must-have. This is a rocket ship of a company, and everyone needs their technology. And because kind of the myth is like, hey, we're in the cloud, our data's safe, right?
Yeah, no, zero trust. You got to it's zero trust. As much as I trust ServiceNow, like the data centers, I've never seen them lose data. I've only seen rare short stint outages. And that's I've very, very, very rarely seen it in production, but you just never, it's zero trust. You don't have the option to not do it. Right. I mean, to not back it up in a separate system. It's like, I think people are good inherently, but I still lock my door at night. You know what I mean?
There's a thing called the shared responsibility model, which basically says hey, ServiceNow's, they're like the landlords. They would need to make sure the foundation isn't cracked, the roof doesn't leak. But if you leave the doors unlocked and the windows open, someone comes in and steals all your stuff, that's on you, not ServiceNow.
Yeah. And you just never know with catastrophes. I remember on I did a podcast with Jessica before, and we were nobody ever expected COVID to hit, right? You better being safe than sorry, and especially, with great power comes great responsibility. It's the same reason why you need the right partner to implement ServiceNow. Just because you bought ServiceNow doesn't mean it's going to work just the way you need it to. It needs to be configured and personalized the right way. And just because ServiceNow is the best in, uptime and 5 nines and protecting your data and security doesn't mean you don't have a backup plan. And I guess it's really even not it's a backup plan, but it shouldn't be your backup, right? It shouldn't be in the back seat. It should be part of your, your right in front, right up front.
Well, yeah, we all have third-party cloud backups for all of our pictures on our phone, our laptop. most people have a spare key to their car, right? Why should it be any different with your data and service?
True. I like that. Backing up your phone. I like that. I never thought of that.
I think Own initially, back in the day, the original founder, Ariel, was they were going to back up like things like Twitter and these consumer accounts, right?
Wow.
And then it ended up, Sam Gutman and Ori came in and they ended up shifting into like,
That's smart.
business apps, like, because it's regulatory now. It's by
you
law.
Don't have a choice.
So,
and then, so how did you get like interviewing with them? Like, how did you get that?
So I was at Digisect, and then, so when I finished with that, basically had some time off, and I noticed that Own was putting on LinkedIn about ServiceNow, and it caught my eye. And my brother called Own Backup up and was like, dude, if you want to go into ServiceNow, you got to call my little brother, man. He's like, knows everybody, and he can totally, like you said, ambassador into the ecosystem. And so they called me, and I was in San Francisco, and it's a funny story because it was like, I put in a little bit of Mike Lombardo hustle style to get this job, to the point to where I was, it was right after the pandemic, and it was the first in-person event since the pandemic. It was the New York World, or I guess the New York Knowledge, right? For the most.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you were having, of course, that big rooftop party at Hudson Yards hosting, and I hadn't seen you guys in person since the pandemic, and I was like, oh, that'd be awesome to see Mike and everyone. So, to be honest, I was going over there as well. Like, okay, I'll go over there and do this interview with Own, and then I'll go over and go see GlideFast and interview over there too.
Yeah.
Because I'm ready to get to work again, and so I went and did the interview, and at the interview, I was actually bragging about you and your company, and my hiring managers was Mitch, Matt Kennedy, and Jessica Wine.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, after this, actually, I'm going over to this rooftop happy hour bar. You guys should come. And I had told them about that before, and Own was already trying to break into the ecosystem, and they were doing it, just guerrilla style.
Shout out Jessica for that. I mean, woo. I'll tell my side of the same story after. Continue.
Yeah. So they had people deployed all over the streets and stuff with like Own Your Now shirts, right?
And it was the same colors as ServiceNow's recent rebranding.
Yeah.
So here I am, like, and all of us were like, what's in it? Again, like you said, it's our first like in person, like fake knowledge. It was knowledge, but it really, it's not like a real knowledge. And we're seeing all these t-shirts, these people like, what is this? Own your now. Like, we're like, what is this? And then they infested my party. And then like they're
well, so they found out about the party from me, because I sent them an invite, and it was intended just for the 3 hiring managers I was working with. And they forwarded out to the whole team, and they're on the streets giving out free trips to Hawaii and just trying to get on the map and just be disruptive, right?
Yeah.
And, which I respect,
Yeah.
And,
100%.
But nonetheless, I didn't know that they were all invited to the party too, and didn't really know that was going on. So I finished my interview and I said, hey, well, let's walk over to the party. And I remember getting up to the top of the roof and walking in. And first of all, obviously it was packed.
Yeah.
I remember Erica Vellini was there and stuff. She had just come on.
Yeah. Tom Hannigan. The party was.
It was a great party.
Yeah.
And I remember looking over and seeing all those shirts, like 20 people, like kind of piled in the corner. And I was like, okay, this is strange. What's going on here? And at that point, the interview was over. And I think they had 22 more people to interview for this role, like, the next week. And so at that point, I was like, I want to catch up with the GlideFast folks. I remember bumping into Lauren. She's like, hey, great to see you. It was good to see each other. We hugged. And she's like, are these people with you? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Do you work with these guys? And I didn't really know what to say, because I'm in the interview process. I didn't want to like be the guy that crashed your party. And I wasn't that guy. But this is what the company I was hoping to work for. Right.
Yeah.
And man, I got to give it to you, Mike. Your endorsement when that whole thing went down got me the job. Just pretty much hired me on the spot.
I still can't believe that, because what's so funny is I remember the whole thing, because first of all, we were at max capacity. There was a line around the corner, and people waiting for the elevator. They're telling me we can't have any more people. Finally, like, I think it was either Lauren or I might have said it to you too. Like, Ryan, what are you doing to me, buddy?
Well,
Like,
you were like, hey, what's up, man? It's like, you're like, who are all these people, dude? And then Lauren's like, hey, if you want to sponsor, like, if you want to be a sponsor, like,
yeah, we could do it. But then you introduced me to Jessica, and you know, I'm like, are these people with you, whatever? And like, you're not messing around. Like, I don't know who you are, I don't know what you do, but like, you're here.
Like, dude, it was my life on the line because I was going for this job and super excited about it. And I wasn't sure if I was how that was gonna turn out. It was kind of it was either you were gonna throw us out of the party and say, dude, because you had clients down. You were like, dude, I got clients downstairs in the lobby who can't get here because you got 20 people here and we're at over capacity. And I remember when I left the interview, I was going through, and I think I brought you up and was bragging about you and said, hey, this is Mike Lombardo. He's called the mayor of ServiceNow. He's the one hosting this party tonight. And I showed a picture in my interview. I had like kind of a slide deck.
Yeah.
And Jess walked over and says, let me see. And she looked at that picture. And then Mitch and Matt and I left for the party. Jess had to go to her room, and she said, I'll meet you at the party.
Yeah.
Jess gets to the lobby to get to the party. It's sold out. They're over capacity on fire code. They wouldn't let anyone up. And then she sees you and she's like, I know you. You're Mike Lombardo. So she knew that from the picture in the interview. And
That's right.
So you let her up to the party, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so then you guys came up, and then you started walking around realizing like what's going on here. So we had that kind of showdown where it was like you and I and Jess. And, and you're like, hey, if you want to be a sponsor, that's cool, but just talk to us. Don't come here.
Oh, and she's like, oh, we're gonna sponsor. Don't worry about that.
And you guys are negotiating right there. Like
yeah. She's like, don't worry about that. And then I don't know what she said something about you, and I was just like, that's my guy. Like, whatever. Well, I said something like, you're okay because you're with Ryan or something.
Yeah. Well, what you said was like, I may have to kick you guys out of here. And she's like, well, we want to sponsor with you guys at Knowledge. And he's like, you go, we're having a huge party at Knowledge, but you said Ryan can go, but you guys aren't going. She's like, no, we want to sponsor. You go, oh, and then you looked at me and you said, can she write a check? I said, oh yeah, she's running the show here. And then so you guys sat there and shook on a deal. Remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So this coming Knowledge will be our third year in a row.
Oh, that's wild. That's wild. I know it's been such a great partnership. And it's not because it's like the technology worked or because it's Kumbaya ServiceNow stuff. It's really you and Jessica have just been like, you guys became friends. I mean, you've been friends longer, but like fun to work with you and her. And like, there's no BS. Like, we're hard workers. You just got off a flight from Ireland on ServiceNow. What was it? Now at Work, a world tour? Or what was it?
It was a ServiceNow Dublin Summit.
Wow. I mean, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's no excuses. And, you know, building a company, running a company, interacting with so many people and, you know, projects and all this, you work with a lot of people and you quickly realize like, who are the hard workers, who isn't, and you realize like who are the frustrating people that you don't want to work with. You know, there's things like that. And it's like, for me, there's nothing more that I respect than like someone who just works their ass off. I don't care if I've said this from the beginning at GlideFast, by the way, I'd rather have somebody who puts in the extra effort, who wants it more, who's more hungry than somebody who's the best architect in the whole world or whatever, consultant, and they know it all, and you know they don't need to learn anything else, or they're better than everybody. Like, it's just not it's not people I want to work with, you know.
Yeah, well, you talk about relationships and that kind of stuff, and just to let you know how influential you have been. So you said we can talk right now and figure this out. So you guys talked for about 5 minutes, and I'm not even part of your company or her company. I'm just there on just finished an interview. At this point, I'm a civilian, and then you guys shook on a deal, and then you said, okay, cool, I'll see you at Knowledge and we'll talk later. And you walked off, and she looked at me, she's like, all right, you're hired. And I was just like, holy smoke. Like, I just got hired because of Mike's endorsement. Like, I just met Jess, that day for the first time and a couple hours ago.
That's wild.
And now because of you endorsing me at that moment, she turned around and says, you're hired. We're going to make this work and figure it out. We're going to fast track this because we need you at Knowledge next week. And and I went.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Dude, I went in the bathroom, Mike, and broke down in tears, man.
No, shut up. You're going to make me cry right now.
Oh, man. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And so I remember seeing you a year later and told you that story. And are you serious? you didn't even realize that, you know,
No, I didn't know. Cause I did it like, I did kind of like a drop the mic thing. Like I said something like, as long as you got this guy here or something, you're okay.
Yeah, you basically said, dude, if yeah, you basically endorsed me.
Yeah. And then the next year, I think you came to GlideFast, right? You were the only person that didn't work at GlideFast.
Oh,
that
to
came
GlideFest. Yeah, I came to the GlideFest in
GlideFest.
Big Sky. It was incredible, man.
Man, you know, I feel like too, like we got closer over the last, obviously we got way closer over the last few years. And like you coming to GlideFest was like, I didn't realize how cool that was going to be. You know what I mean? Like you brought your guitar, didn't you? Like playing guitar.
Dude,
that was wild. Middle of nowhere, Montana. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah. And the way you structured that to where it's like, hey, this is a work trip, but I want everyone, there's way more time to hang and just bond with people. I think we got together in the morning, would have breakfast and talk for a little bit. And then from noon on, it was like, we're all hanging out. And that's when I just bonded with, like, you know, 700 people from the company all day long, biking around. I mean, just all around Big Sky at 8,000 feet above sea level.
Big Sky of Montana. People thought I was crazy, and I might have been, but like people, like a couple of my people, and I give them, I use this as an example, and I throw it in, you kind of throw it in their face a little bit. It's like when we talked about Big Sky, Montana for GlideFest, people were like, Mike, what are you doing? Like, where's the Vegas? Where's the party? Why are we going to Montana? This is going to be a big mistake. People are going to be like, the fact that there were no Vegas Strip, there were no clubs, there was barely a bar, you know. I mean, we had alcohol.
There was millions of stars at night. You could see.
There was millions of stars.
And then like
each other.
The people you met on the shuttle going through like that beautiful scenery to get up there. And I mean, it was bonding.
I mean, that was the best thing we could have done. And that's another thing. It's kudos to Apex for like, you know, because they had just acquired us and they're like, you're doing what? You're spending what? The whole company? Like not just high performers, whatever that is. And like, I'm like, yes, this is why GlideFast is special, because we invest in each other. We invest in the culture. We build these relationships. We're a remote company. I mean, we have to. We don't have that face-to-face interaction. You know, you need to do it.
Yeah. You know, I call this, It's a Wonderful Life exercise, right? Have you seen the show, It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart, the Christmas film?
Yeah.
Holiday film?
Yeah.
And like the exercise is like, you know, had you never been born, right? Where would I be?
Me? You'd be.
Mike, had you never been born,
no.
I would be alone.
No. It is, I can't think. You can't think like that. That's
just how that you have to, like, take a person like yourself or people in your life and say, had I never met this person, how would my life be different? And that's too. It's a heavy thing to do, but it's real.
That's heavy. Yeah, I can't do that.
That had you never been born, all the people, me and then everyone else, where would their life be? And, you know, Jimmy Stewart gets to go around and see all these people who are so successful, who inadvertently, because of him, having all these blessings in their life that aren't even there. And he's looking, going, holy smoke. And he's like seeing like where they are because he was never born. And so
so maybe I didn't see this movie. I thought I was thinking of something totally different. So I never, is it a movie or a show?
It's a movie. They play it every year around holiday time.
Oh, I gotta watch that.
And there's this super influential guy, and he goes through this hard time, and he stops. He says, "Man, I wish I was never born." So they give him the gift to know what his life would have been like had he never been born, and then send him back out in the world, and he gets to see like all the people that aren't where they are because he wasn't there to help them get there.
You know what though? Maybe that's like a defense mechanism that I do, but like I tend to think, whether maybe it's not true because you're disagree with me kind of, but like I'm not the needle mover on people. Like I may add like a little bit of like grease on the wheel or something, but like I'm not the wheel. You know what I mean? Like I can't do the work for you or for like, you know, all the people at GlideFast, all the customers and stuff. It's like, well, I'm just a connection.
Yeah, we're all a cog in the wheel, but you take one of those out, and that's the whole point. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
you know?
And it could be the same, who knows, for you too. I mean, the GlideFast may not be where it is today. If you weren't one of the first followers and, supporting us on every event. I mean, like, you were just always, you were at every single ServiceNow event. I mean, forget about Own Backup, AMI, every company you're at, every event I showed up at, you're there, big smile on your face, networking. You're really similar to me, because my value, I came to realize in the first few years of GlideFast, especially once I started transitioning out of like the consultant role in development, is my gift was connecting people, just kind of like what we're talking about. Like I would like meet a customer, talk to them, hear their challenges, and I'd be like, oh my God, I got this great architect right here who I think you'd get along with, who's an expert in CSM. I know they're going to solve your problems. Like that's where, and I'm still doing that today. Like now I meet people and I'm like, dude, your job, your career, your life will be better here at GlideFast. Like this is somewhere you're going to thrive. And it's crazy.
And it helps everyone. I mean, even like, there's competitors in the ecosystem, but that networking honestly helps everyone.
Yeah.
It's like you get out there. I mean, first of all, networking is a 4-letter word, work. People think, oh, networking, alliances, oh, you just go out and hang out. And it's like, no, if you do it right, you're exhausted. They're 18-hour days,
Oh man. Yeah, I know. I look at some of the pictures are coming back of knowledge, like around May of like, over the years. And I just like, I always take a picture every night of like when I get back into the room to change, usually just to change into my next outfit or whatever. And just the piles of business cards and like casino chips and like my cards, other people. It's just like, it is really exhausting. But where did you learn the power of networking from? Where can you take it back to somewhere specific?
I figured it out. I've kind of traced it back, finally, because people have asked me, like, hey, you should do a seminar, or how do you, and I've had to think like, well, what would I say? And like, how, what's the methodology, right? Besides being the first there, the last to leave, and putting in the work and all that. Yep. But it's more than that. It's about culture. It's about character. But I learned the skills that I got as a survival skill. I was born on a military base, Tacoma Air Force Base in Tacoma, Washington, and my dad was in the Air Force. And then he got transferred to Del Rio, Texas, when I was like 5, and then we moved to Carrollton, and we moved to Grapevine, Texas, and then Carrollton, Texas, and then I moved to Dallas, Texas, and then I, had to change schools again. And so it's like, as a kid, you're growing up, and as soon as you start to meet everyone, I mean, every school's like an ecosystem, right?
Oh, I know. You don't gotta tell me.
Schools got their own culture and got their own influencers, and then as soon as I would kind of figure out the game and who's who and how to navigate around, I'd have to move and start over again. And I remember laying in bed as a kid going, oh, I've got to be that new guy again.
Walking to school, I hated it.
And start over. And then I'd get comfortable, and then I had to move again. So I started to become an expert of like winning over ecosystems as a kid. Like, how not to get beat up, just basic stuff, don't be a jerk, and, be respectful and that kind of stuff. But also, if you want to excel and become a leader, and you have to be humble, and you have to develop these skills that people want to choose you to be put in a position of leadership and stuff. And so as a kid, I would learn those things, I think, innately faster and faster every time I moved, to the point where I moved to Seattle, Washington. It happened even faster. And then I went to, college. And then from there, I got to the point to where it's like, well, I've really got this. I'm comfortable with this.
It's easy.
You go to these events, and you don't know anyone in the room, but everyone else is in the same boat. So the harder you work, you're helping them. So if you're meeting people and engaging and kind of starting that process, it just gets the ball rolling, and you're kind of putting people together. They're paying good money. Their company's spending a ton of money to send them there too. So you're helping them do their job. They're winning, you're winning, everyone wins together. It creates this environment. And I think that, I remember I read a book, like I'm not real technical. I'm a musician, but I don't read music. So I play by ear. I don't read books. That's
crazy.
But same thing. It's like, I did read one book like in junior high or something, but it was that Dale Carnegie How to Win Friends and Influence People book.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And
yeah, I never read it. Yeah.
I think the first chapter is like, don't criticize, condemn, or complain, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So it's like just basic stuff like that, staying positive, keeping a positive attitude, and
yeah, it's huge.
kind of having those just having those quivers in your feather about when you're operating out there in the real world. They help you, they don't hurt you, you know. So you shoot yourself in the foot so easily if you don't just do basic stuff, you know.
Yeah. And then there's something it's spot on. It's funny because I'm just hearing so many similarities. And I remember you telling me some of the stuff too, but yeah, there's some stuff you can't complain, right? There's always going to be that jerk that, you know, wants to shove you in a locker or whatever, right? But like if you do certain things, like you're gonna make friends. Like, it's funny you say about the school thing. I never put two and two together with me in my childhood or whatever. My high school, I went to 4 different high schools in 3 years. You know, I never saw my senior year. I never saw 12th grade.
Wow.
But and I didn't move around necessarily, but I kept getting in trouble, kicked out of school, whatever, having to go to a different one. And yeah, I had to make new friends like everywhere. And I was like and I got sick of being the new guy after a while. But I want to know if you noticed this. You said every school is like an ecosystem, right? Which I totally agree with. Did you like feel like there were the same characters at every school? Like there was always like the
personas.
What?
The certain personas is like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. Like, I don't want to say, I don't mean it. I don't mean like a head, like a captain of the football team, but like there was always like a captain of the football team. There's always like a, you know, head, like just like these different, like the goth kids, like this, you know, like there was always
the brown noser, this, yeah, there's like,
like the overachiever, yeah, like that to me, that's why I really, by my fourth high school, I was exhausted. I feel like I had graduated high school like 10 times because I'm like, you know, just like you, like I went there new, got a lot of friends, met everybody, you know, did what I had to do with grades and teachers. And it's like, oh, I got to do this again. It's like, I've already done this. You know what I mean? I'm on to the next. And I think that's probably why everything I kind of started young is just because I entered the workforce so young. I entered my first, you know, professional corporate job I was 19 years old doing answering on the help desk, you know? So by the time my friends graduated college, I was on my second career, like professional, you know, career, and it's 6 years experience already, 5 years experience, you know?
You're not even 40 yet, right?
No, 37, I think.
Wow. Because you are advanced, man. And it's funny, that's probably what pushed you, kind of leapfrogged you into being more mature in that leadership position, is those things.
It's survival. Like it's similar to you, survival. Like my parents didn't have a lot of money. It was a single family home. I lost my stuff when I was younger. It's like, it's not that I was like homeless, but like I had, and I wanted it too. Like my mother instilled in me, like, you better be successful. Like that's, you know, it's kind of like, all right, if you're not going to graduate high school, like you better figure something out, you know, because I can't support you even if I wanted to, you know?
Wow.
But yeah.
So you never graduated from high school, and now
Never.
Yeah.
GED, and that program Year Up, which is why like that's another foundation I'll support for the rest of my life. They saved my life. Like I wish and I was just talking to my friend Greg, he's the head of shout out Greg. He's on the board of the Year Up alumni. They don't get any money from the government. Which I cannot believe. It's basically, for those who don't know, Year Up is a program it pays students. It's a 1 year. It's not Year Up. It's a 1 year program. They pay you the whole time, 6 months schooling. You learn a hard skill like technical finance, and then they give you an internship. And it's basically on you. Like there's no handout, but they give you an opportunity. They teach you, they give you an internship. And by the way, they pay you the whole time, and you get college credits, and you get an opportunity to go down that route if you want to. But like, and it's heavily focused on urban youth, and like I cannot believe that this organization, the amount of success it has, that the government isn't supporting this. Like, I just like, that's the type of program I think the government would want to go all in on, of just like, it's because it's teaching people how to fish. It's not just giving a handout. Like, to me, that I'd rather see something like this over some of the initiatives around like, welfare and stuff like that, because it's no better. People want to learn. People want to, fish on their own. That's why I'll support them forever, because that program saved my life. I was headed down, who knows what, if you talk about something that didn't exist, that I could get on board with. If Gerald did not start that program with the other founders, I would definitely not be here. Right. Like, that is, so that's a program. I just donated 50,000 to them last year, and I hope to be able to do that again, this year and forever. It's just an amazing program.
Yeah. So you were talking about like praising the bridge that carries you, basically. And I was thinking of like some, when I go to these conferences, even still today, or, I'll be in a new city I've never been to, and I'm by myself representing OWN and going to a show in the morning. And it's like, I get these butterflies to this day, even still. Yeah, it's like,
me too.
I feel the butterflies, and it's just, and I just remind myself, take a deep breath, and
it's overwhelming,
and meet who you're supposed to meet. Right.
Yeah.
That's how I think about it. And I remember, like, when I was the new kid at the school, like, how grateful I was to the first people who took me in. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, and I remember, and maybe they're not the type of person that you would have ever met or thought you had a lot in common with, but you have so much gratitude to that person. Because, like, man, when I was the new kid, for the first 2 weeks, when I was just scared and didn't know anyone, this person was by my side, like showing me around, helping me out, and then maybe meeting new friends that you have more in common with, and becoming in a different clique. But I would never forget,
never forget that. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Yeah, that's I still get those butterflies too. I freaking like, it's killing me. I can't go this year, but we'll see. Maybe I'll end up there. I don't know, but I still get it, man. And I just like, that's when I'm the most alive. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, we got this. I got 5 dinners tonight. I got to meet with this person. The party's later. We got to do this. I got to make this little speech. Like, it's just nothing. It's overwhelming a lot of times. And sometimes I'm like, man, am I doing too much? It's like, I love it. Just like being courtside Celtics games. I just like, it's just like my moment. It's like my happy place, It's
funny. I was on the plane last night, and turns out the guy sitting next to me is like the senior security analyst for BNY Mellon, and he lives in Ireland. He's from Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah.
And he was going back to Sao Paulo to visit his family. He's been at BNY Mellon for like 7 years or something. And we were talking about stuff, and I was going through trying to show him a picture. We were talking about cars, and I went through and showed him your car, actually,
the one we took together. Yeah.
And then I was looking for a picture of my brother's dog. And long story short, I ran across that video of you on the floor at the Celtics game, and you were like, oh man, and Paul Pierce is there, and he's like, yo, give me some 5. You're like, oh shoot. That was the best, man.
Dude, that is my childhood hero. That's why life is so crazy, because I went viral for leaving Paul Pierce hanging, like NBA finals, courtside. Like, this was like one of my first games.
We're in the
GlideFast shirt, just got acquired. It was
Celtics, it's the clothes.
It's the Celtics logo with the GlideFast. Yeah. And I just made those shirts too. Shout out Colleen. She made that logo.
Great shirt.
And
clover on there and stuff. Yeah.
The clover. Yeah. The Celtics clover. And like, ended up going out with Paul Pierce that night, like partying and everything. Like, that is like, it's just so crazy. Like, all I could think about was when I was 14, 13, 12 years old, like cheering Paul Pierce from the nosebleeds, and like, that's my favorite player, So it's like, so
and I
crazy.
love they call him I never knew they called him the truth until that video, and I thought it's so cool. It's like, you're the truth, man. Like, you're a real guy. Like, one of the reasons that attracted me to you is like, I love Italian food. It's my favorite food in the world.
Yeah,
and I love Italian people because they're truthful and like transparent. Like, if they don't like you and you're out
brutally honest, yeah,
they'll tell you. And if you're doing good, they'll tell you, hey, you're doing good. And like, I don't like being in the dark. I like being around people who kind of let me know where they're
Yeah,
at.
me too. Yeah.
And you do that. Like you walk the halls and say hi to people and give shouts out. And I remember like before.
Oh, I love it.
I remember when you had just decided you were in the process of starting GlideFast. I don't think you started it yet. You had left the choreo, and I'd seen you for like the second or third time. It was like 2015, New York, Snug. Remember we went to and we were in I can't remember where there. It was by the Wall Street area. Remember?
Yeah. Well, they had a
Well, it was
there was one that GlideFast sponsored at the Wall at
the stock
literally the trading room floor. But
yeah.
this wasn't it, was it?
No, it was 2 years before that.
Okay.
Down on Wall Street. It wasn't at the stock exchange. It was further down on Wall Street, like it's some room. And you had already made up your mind, but weren't telling anyone, including me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, and you told me in the hall, I'm doing this thing, and you're gonna hear about it. Like, let's go. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh,
and that's why I was like, what's it gonna be? So when you announced it, I was like, boom, first to support on LinkedIn.
You did. You were.
That picture was so old. When you sent it to me, you said, hey, is this you? I didn't even recognize myself because it was like, such an old picture. I was like, is that me? And I was like, oh, I remember taking that. I had just moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
And I was going to Knowledge with AMI, and Tom's like, dude, you're not even on LinkedIn. Dude, get on LinkedIn. So I had my friend, I went and put a suit on, had my friend take a picture of me in my house in Nashville. It's you and Pippi.
Wow.
You stopped by.
We stopped by your house. Yeah.
You had just acquired a fare code, remember?
Yeah.
You got in the car and you stopped in. We had barbecue and you came over for a hot second.
That was so generous of you. You're like, dude, come by the house. Like, I think something happened. We didn't have money or something like something weird. Like, you like, come to my house. I'll feed you or whatever. And you like, yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. That's such a small world, dude. It's so crazy. All right. I think we could keep doing this all. I think we got to do a part 2 because we could keep. One of the reasons why I really want to do this, Ryan, is like, I got to go get another round of treatment next week. I wanted to do a glide chat and I wanted to squeeze one more. I did one with Pippi. I was like, I haven't done one with Pippi ever. I wanted Pip and I was like, I got to do one more. And I was like, I've never done with Ryan. I want to get one queued up with Ryan. This probably won't go out till after Knowledge, but I just, wanted to thank you for being such a great friend over the years. And I think one thing, Ryan, I got to say, I think you supported me more than I supported you in the early days. Like you were always like, I think I could have done probably more in the beginning to like help you. And you've always unequivocally just been a supporter. So I thank you for that. I'll always support you. You're a true friend and you're a great person. And Owen's lucky to have you.
Oh man, I love you, the team, the whole family.
Love you too. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Let's go.
Do you have a topic in mind that you'd like to discuss? Reach out to us at glidefast.com and subscribe to our podcast for new episodes.